More and more Americans are waking up to the truth, and that's an amazing breakthrough. You see, it's kind of like we've been lied to, like we've been in a really bad relationship for years. Now, this is something that was spearheaded by the Biden administration. It's also a movement that's affecting multiple states right here in our country, like Arkansas, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma. And to be honest, guys, it's bound to affect all 50 states at this point. However, it is affecting a lot of people in Chicago. And to be completely honest with you guys, I can't blame them for how they're reacting to it right now.
Nothing, no juice, it's still on 0%. And this is like 3 hours this morning being out here, after being out here 8 hours yesterday.
Tyree Beard was among the dozens of Tesla owners trying desperately to power up their cars at this Tesla supercharging station in Oak Brook. A scene mirrored with long lines and abandoned cars at scores of other charging stations around the Chicago area.
Man, this is crazy. It's a disaster. Seriously.
We got a bunch of dead robots out here.
Dead robots. This is your car?
Yeah.
But it was no laughing matter to people like Kevin Sumrack, who landed at O'Hare last night to find his Tesla dead, forcing him to hire a flatbed tow truck to try to find a working charging station.
So I can get back to Indiana.
But you can't find one that's charging or working?
Either working or doesn't have cars sitting, still plugged in.
You've been here since when?
5 p.m. yesterday.
So 20 hours or so.
Yeah, about.
Now, I know I've said it before, but think of it this way. Imagine buying a phone and it can't make phone calls, right? That's exactly how the situation is with the EVs right now. And you've also heard for how many hours these people are charging for, right? Staying in a gas station for 1 hour just to kind of fill up, that would seem criminal. But 20 hours? Oh, that's just ridiculous. And yes, more and more Americans are waking up to the fact that they may have bought some really expensive lawn ornaments in the form of cars. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong though. You know, it's not a dig on Tesla at all. This is just a fair criticism of all electric vehicles in general. And like, I'm just telling you guys what's happening. You guys already know this. Like, if I lied saying that EVs don't get affected by cold weather, then wouldn't that be wrong? But I'm just giving you guys the truth. This is the reality here, which seems to be contrary to what some of these companies are doing. I mean, look at this. Tesla had to lower their range estimates because they've been known to overstate what their vehicles can do. And I get it, you know, you want to hype up your product, you know, that's all fine and good. I get it. But the dashboard says 100 miles and you can only go 70 or 80, then that's a big problem for drivers.
Last April, the Environmental Protection Agency laid out a plan that would make 2/3 of new passenger cars all electric by the year 2032. In 2023, that figure was about 8%. It is an ambitious goal from the Biden administration designed to reduce emissions and, it says, to create new jobs in the auto industry. But news this week of a major automaker cutting its production of electric vehicles, along with the ongoing frustration of EV owners whose cars struggle in the cold, are the latest signals of a slowdown in the race toward an electric future. NBC's Adrian Broadus has more in our Sunday Focus.
In the new Netflix movie Leave the World Behind,
get the car!
Driverless electric vehicles terrorize motorists after a cyber attack. But with sub-zero temperatures across most of the country this week,
that car died.
Drivers of electric vehicles navigate a different nightmare.
Oh, no. My friend's car, no percent.
The dilemma? Electric vehicles run on lithium batteries, which take longer to charge in cold temperatures, leaving drivers stuck, waiting at charging stations for hours. According to AAA, the average electric vehicle's driving range decreases by 41% when the temperature outside drops to 20 degrees and when the car's heater or AC runs. There are around 160,000 chargers nationwide, but 1 in 5 drivers say they've pulled up to charge and it was broken.
Does the U.S. have the infrastructure to support electric vehicles?
No.
Because, like, what happens if they run out of juice within those last few miles? Thinking that they have 100 miles remaining, they get to 70 and they're kind of like tapped out. You're going to find that superchargers are far and few in between in some areas of the country. These recent events are also not helping with sales. And I'm not just talking about Tesla, okay? So as the federal government invests millions upon millions of dollars into EV charger repairs, it's also come out that Ford is cutting the price of their Ford F1 Lightning pickup truck. So I just want to kind of ask you guys, why do businesses cut prices again? Oh, that's right, because the demand is low. Now, if the demand is low and the supply is high, well, prices really have nowhere else to go but down.
Let's start with the news of the day, and that's the latest out of Ford, the F-150 Lightning pickup. What's your read into that, and really what that tells us more about the broader story about EV demand and the fact that it's not living up to those initial expectations?
Yeah, I think we've reached a point in the marketplace where the early adopters, the people who really want to buy a zero emissions vehicle, there's various demographics that we're into and are interested in EVs, and they seem to have all gotten their EV. And obviously, that's not a static thing. There's constant churn going on there, but it does seem like we've got to break past that segment of the population into the mainstream buyer, the average consumer, and the average consumer is going to be less concerned about or thinking about emissions or even torque and all the electric vehicle benefits. They're going to be thinking about their cost upfront, their cost ongoing while they own it, their depreciation when it's time to sell it, and after this past week, probably things like what's going to happen when it gets really cold if I'm driving one.
So this basically means that the wealthy, those who had spare cash and probably didn't even buy these cars as their daily drivers, now have their EVs, which means that, sales are not going to pick up as much because the average consumer can't even get into this market. Matter of fact, EV inventories are hitting record highs right here in our country. They're piling up at dealership lots. And I think they have around like 114 days worth of supplies right about now, maybe even a little bit more. That number was at 53 days back in 2022, which means that the demand just isn't keeping up with how fast they're making these things. And just like Ford, GM has just pulled the plug on production plans. But with all these different price cuts and challenges, these things are going to cost a ton compared to cars and trucks that were powered by fossil fuels. It makes you wonder if EVs had the same price as your average gas or diesel powered car or truck. Do you think that more people would have bought them instead? Well, if we go by how disinterested people are with them nowadays, I'm guessing that not much would actually change when it comes to demand. Now, besides those numbers going up, meaning that less people are saying that they aren't interested in these vehicles, I think it's important to note something very important when it comes to almost every single machinery with moving parts. They always tend to need maintenance. And for pretty much any car lover out there, you would know that by far, this is the most important aspect of owning a car, and it allows us to kind of ride as long as we can. You see, I've seen cars from like the 80s that are still running on the road today. And yes, they run on gas. Now, the huge problem that many seem to forget is that maintenance on an EV is getting pretty freaking expensive. Did you know that the EV owners are reporting like 80% more problems compared to people who drive conventional cars and trucks? And these are the EVs that were released from 2021 to 2023, meaning that they're fairly new. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if something's new, it's supposed to be an improved version of what it's replacing, right? Then why does it feel like we're stepping back here? But of course, you're going to hear the narrative that this is the future, right? Meanwhile, our leaders and government officials continue to fly on planes that consume fossil fuels. And just to kind of cap this off, okay, guys, do you want to know why more Americans are now saying no to this movement? Because it screams of hypocrisy. They say that this is for the environment, but did they forget as to how electricity is even generated? Oh, that's right. I completely forgot. Fossil fuels continue to be the most common fuel type for electricity production in our country. So are we really making things better? But you're not going to hear this from the news because it's basically negating whatever it is that they're trying to sell us. However, I can give you guys all the data, all the numbers, but at the end of the day, the decision lies with you guys. All I know is that, I'm going to do my best to keep you guys informed with the truth about whatever's happening around us, whether it's good or bad. So, as long as it impacts our life, I'm going to share it with you guys. Now, before I go, I want to thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.